Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Whatever, Whenever. I am Robin.
And I'm the Mentok, the prophet, YouTube's savior. But today I'm whenever. I'm the
And I'm
whenever part.
whatever. Yep. Well, we have a lot of cool stuff to talk about today, Mentalk, but I feel like we need to start by opening up with our favorite segment on this show. What the fuck is Activision done now?
And I would love to say that this is like a brand new segment, but we started this from jump, and Activision has given us no shortage of news. Because every time that we pull up to record, there's some new shit going on at Activision. So I figure let's make a block out of it. So we decided to do that.
Yeah, I just think it's funny how we literally stop recording and we're like, okay, there's nothing new gonna come out about this whole company and everything. And then literally last night I got a video from Young Yeah in my feed and I was like, they just keep doing shit. Like the second we stop recording.
It's either they're doing more stuff or like more things just come to light. And
Yeah.
I guess
It's
Robin,
either
you're more well versed about what we found out.
Yeah. So, well, first, this is apparently, I found out this was apparently already well known, but I just never had heard it. Apparently, employees at Activision Blizzard were stealing breast milk from the fridge of their coworkers.
Like how I have no words.
I know, there's no,
Like
what do you even
how
say to that?
I've never heard of that type of fetish in my life. Well, maybe I have, but not in that context where people are literally stealing that from fridges at work. Come on.
Yeah, I mean, they literally had to put padlocks on their refrigerators so that way they would stop stealing that stuff. Like, what?
Was this Blizzard or Activision? I mean, I know they're the same thing, but
I think it was the Blizzard portion.
it
I'm
sounds
not
like
sure.
a Blizzard part. It sounds
Yeah.
like the Blizzard part.
Yeah. Apparently this was one of the first things that was actually going around, but this is the first time I had heard about it, and I'm just sitting here what? How?
And what goes through your mind at that point? Like, oh, well, I don't even think that these people are doing it in the cover of night. They just really just don't give a fuck. That's basically what it is. They don't care. And as we get more and more into this story, there's gonna be more people coming forward about these things that happened. That maybe didn't slip through HR and stuff. So now that it's all public, no one really has anything to lose. But on top of that, just to add to that, there are some executives at Blizzard or Activision as in general that have been threatening workers that sign their name on these petitions and open letters to the public and stuff like that. So that's another bit of news that I read today or earlier this week, is that those people are being threatened that there will be consequences if they put their signature. If we see your signature, there might be consequences or something similar to that effect. So
Yeah.
they really don't want more things going out. They don't want more support for what's happening.
Yeah.
But then publicly, these executives are saying a different story, which is this whole situation in a nutshell, right? They're trying to save face, but they're not resigning. Just resign.
They're trying to play the hero, but then also playing the villain behind doors.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and because of all this stuff, Activision Blizzard executives are being hit with revolts, protests, strikes, and walkouts, and the workers are really attempting to unionize, and it's really pissing off all the executives.
Yeah. So this might actually lead to a bigger discussion about unionization in the gaming industry, which has come up from time to time, right?
Yeah.
But it always gets shot down, and Activision is a big offender of that. I think I brought this up in our last podcast, or my last discussion on this when we talked about it.
Yeah.
Basically what they're doing is they're hiring all these people to work on Call of Duty and other games that sell millions of copies every year. And then once the developers are done, they'll just lay them off, even though the game made billions of dollars and the company is billions of dollars, make billions of dollars worth of profit. So it's not like they're cutting their losses or anything. They're just done with these people because they don't have to work on the next big project. Normally, when they're done with that game, there's another team that's working on another Call of Duty, right? So it just kind of works in this way where they'll lay people off. They have another team working on the Call of Duty for next year. Those people get laid off, and then there's another Call of Duty with another team. So they've been doing this for a while, and honestly, like, just outside the whole sexual harassment stuff, they haven't treated their developers very well either, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, I think the last time I heard about unionization in like the game industry come up, it wasn't even with developers. It was really the voice actors, because the
Right.
voice actor guild is like separate from the industry as a whole, because they also work with like movies and stuff, from what I remember. So they were like demanding to be compensated better, and that was like a whole big thing, and game companies didn't want to have to pay voice actors more and stuff.
Right. When they're
Yeah.
legitimately acting, like they're in
Yeah,
motion cap
like,
suits now, and I think there's a certain art to that as well, which we can't deny that. But there are people on both sides of the fence, like, well, they're not real actors. They're out there, like, but they're putting. I see
the,
that they're putting their all into their roles, and you know,
I
um,
hate the they're not real actors argument, because yes, they are real actors. Voice acting is a legitimate form of acting. It's like when people say that being a YouTuber or a streamer or a content creator isn't a real job. If
yeah,
it's making you money, it's a real job, whether you
right.
like it or not.
It just,
Yeah.
yeah, they that argument aside, basically, like, these voice actors are putting their heart and soul into it, and I think some of the best acting I've ever seen has been in some video games. You know what I mean? Um,
Yeah.
I'll give a good example too, and I this might be different in Japan, but the newest Yakuza game, um, like, the ending actually was just so well done, and not only was it just like graphic wise, you can see the emotions in their face and of these characters. So shout out to the art teams as well, and the graphical teams that put these things together. But, like, you see their eyes getting red because they're crying in this moment. They're getting emotional, but the voice acting just sells it. And, like, it got me emotional too. Like, I'm watching this thing and I'm like, man, we've come so far. This is like some of the greatest piece of acting I've seen in a long time. Um, so I don't think they get the recognition they deserve, and
Yeah.
definitely Activision doesn't give a shit about that either. So,
Yeah.
you know,
And you're reminding me I have to play Yakuza games. I still haven't done that yet.
oh yeah, you're in for a treat, man. Just start with Yakuza 0. I mean, we could do a whole Yakuza podcast. That's like
Yeah.
another thing that I can talk about for hours. They have the formula down right. I'm not huge on open world games because I feel like it's like a big world with nothing to do most of the time.
Yeah, I
And
definitely. Yeah.
like, even a game like Breath of the Wild, which I absolutely love, like, I tried playing it the other day and I'm like, man, not
Yeah,
much to do here. It's
yeah, it's like open world games like Breath of the Wild and GTA 5. There comes a point where, like, you know that you could 100% the game, but you kind of just don't feel like doing that, and so you're just kind of like running around doing nothing.
right. You just have to
Maybe.
call it
Yeah.
at some point.
Yeah. Like, I mean, pretty much all I do when I play GTA 5 now is just get in a car and drive. Like,
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, and again, for those listening who love Breath of the Wild and who probably already clicked off after I said that, I absolutely adore that game. I love a lot of open world games, and I don't want to take away from the entire experience of those things, because there's a lot of really good ones, especially Skyrim, which is still lasting somehow for 10 plus years or whatever. Um, but again, as Robin said, there comes a time where I'm just like, man, I'm kind of over this. I just want to get to the end of it. Um, that's kind of why I prefer linear games. People used to complain for a while, like, oh, this game's too linear. I remember that was going around for a very long time.
Yeah, I remember that a lot. I remember that was like one of the big complaints against Pokemon Sun and Moon was like,
Hmm.
oh, they're so linear. Oh, the first island of the game is too tutorial heavy. And like, first of all, yeah, it is. It is really too tutorial heavy, and I wish they would have given you the option to skip that. But aside from that, like, I don't care that the story and the island progression stuff is like super linear because, I mean, the story is really good, and what do you usually do when you finish a Pokemon game, anyways? Really?
Unless you're playing competitively, but yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
I mostly go into a lot of these games for the narrative, and I think if it's a little bit more linear, you're able to tell a better story overall. If you're doing it open world, I'm not saying that you can't tell a story. It's just think of it in this sense, like we have to save the world, and then you can drive around endlessly, or you
yeah,
can do whatever. Like the time is just yours, So you have to kind of
yeah,
suspend disbelief a little bit, and it's hard to craft a narrative around that type of freedom, in my opinion.
yeah, yeah. One of my favorite jokes about that is like this comment someone did of Breath of the Wild, where it's like Link has saved Zelda, and Zelda's Zelda's like, Link, I have a question. Why is it that when I was trapped sealing Ganon away, you were out like collecting bananas and throwing them at random people in a seaside village for no reason? I could have died at any time, Link. What the hell?
Right. So I
Yeah.
mean, hey, shout out. But speaking of which, shout out to all the people that went straight up to Ganon like first thing.
Oh yeah. No.
Shout out to
Shout
those
outs to
people.
them. Yeah.
I
But
guess
yeah.
speaking of Breath of the Wild and Game of the Year and stuff like, I don't think that got Game of the Year, but it
No, I
was like a
think it
nice
did actually.
transition. It did.
I think it did for 2017. I think it did.
Was it that or was it Persona 5? Persona 5 was nominated.
Persona 5 was nominated, but I think Breath of the Wild won.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
speaking of Game of the Year,
Yeah.
we just came out of the Game Awards.
Which is funny because literally today, as we're recording our episode talking about what we think is going to happen at the Game Awards is going up.
So do we date ourselves? I think we dated
Yeah,
ourselves.
we dated ourselves a bit. That's what you get for recording in advance.
Oh well. All right. So, maybe we're predicting the future. Maybe we're not. I don't think I got it right when I said what Game of the Year would be at, because I put my bets on Metroid Dread. But I thought
Yeah,
Deathloop was gonna take it.
I thought that Metroid Dread was going to take it, but Joseph Fares got it with It Takes Two, which is awesome. I didn't think he would ever win after like the whole "fuck the Oscars" clip.
I honestly think that it's rather poetic in a sense, because that's where a lot of people were introduced to him as a game director, and
Yeah,
um, I remember at first I'm like, man, this guy's drunk, but that's just his energy. He's like that. Like after a while, I realized, yeah, he wasn't really drinking. He was just up there like making a show of it and being honest
yeah.
and
He was
straightforward
being
about games.
he was being himself, which is the best that you can really be, honestly.
Yeah. And so like later that year, or I guess the next year, the following year, he brought in um A Way Out. That was the game. Sorry, I had to
Yeah,
take a second to think about that. So A Way
yeah,
Out, it was what he released for. I guess that was his debut. I'm not sure how many games he worked on prior to that. But then like he took that formula and molded it into like a very beautiful creation that is It Takes Two, and I got to play that on stream a little bit, actually from start to finish, and I enjoyed it a lot. I think that all the gameplay elements in that game were on point, and I love how he was experimenting with different gameplay styles, and they were all good. That's what surprised me. Normally when you have that variety stuff, you're a jack of all trades and master of none. I
yeah. You
enjoyed
have
it
like
a lot. He kept the gameplay fresh.
yeah, like oftentimes when you have like multiple gameplay styles in one game, one of them is gonna like suck at least. But from what I've heard, I haven't managed to play that game myself yet. From what I've heard, he managed to like really do good on like all the different genres that he presented with the different gameplay and stuff.
Yeah, and I think the art direction he took gave it a little bit less jank than A Way Out. You can tell like a small studio worked on A Way Out. But
Yeah.
I'm glad that EA just kind of gives him some free roam. Like they are the publisher, but they give him like total creative control over his intellectual properties, which is good because normally
Yeah,
EA is a tyrant. So
yeah, it's so weird hearing the words EA and creative control in the same sentence, because usually EA is like all about how can we shove so many cosmetic loot boxes into this $60 game, or like FIFA, or like what studio can we buy up, run into the ground, and then shut down after 5 years?
I honestly think that they've humbled themselves recently. I don't see this in the news very often because I'm not saying that they're perfect. But I think that they're a publisher that's legitimately trying to turn things around, especially after the Battlefront 2 situation. And
Yeah,
we won't sit on this topic too long because I know we want to get back to the Game Awards. But
yeah.
when it comes to like It Takes Two, they gave him total creative control, which I understand is what they do now, because if you remember the debacle that was Anthem, and BioWare's team tried to get that off the ground, based on the investigative journalism from, I think it was Kotaku who released that article. I think it was Jason.
Yeah, it was Jason back when he still worked there, yeah.
Yeah, he was mentioning that, EA did give these guys like full creative control. Like one VP just walked in there and tried things out and he's like, "Well, I really like the flying part. This seems like the best part of the game. Can we make this happen?" And they just kind of like took that and tried to do the most with it, even though that wasn't the focus. So like there was some influence there, but they had that creative control. So I think EA is trying to turn a new leaf when it comes to that.
Yeah, I think that like after Battlefront 2 and then the horrible trash fire that was Anthem, I think they've kind of realized, okay, maybe we need to step back a little bit.
Right.
Just a little bit.
But back to the Game Awards. I so for anyone who's unfamiliar of my channel, like I stream this. I think I've streamed the Game Awards 2 times in a row, each year. So it's my new Christmas like tradition now.
Yeah.
And normally like there's just like I like Jeff Keighley a lot, but there's a lot of disappointment every so often. He's very good at hyping it up. I'll give Jeff that.
The way I like to put it is that everyone always gets really hyped for the Game Awards, and then they watch it and they're like, "Oh, right, it's the Game Awards."
Right. Which
Yeah.
as I said last time, I think it's a very important thing that needs to happen. I think these directors and game developers need that recognition.
Yeah.
But I think that it's becoming a show more about the reveals and the advertisements and esports and streaming, and it seems like a big gaming advertisement because when it gets to the award part, nobody gets to really talk.
Yeah, like that's what disappointed me this year is that like, I mean, granted, part of it may be because of like how long Sonic Fox talked that one time, and they've been kind of like, okay, maybe we need to like just put limits for how long people can speak, because
Right.
I don't know if you remember when he won like Player of the Year, he like spoke for like 5 minutes, and it got to like the point where like the teleprompter said, "Wrap it up, please." Yeah.
Yeah. So maybe that's why they're doing that. I think maybe the whole reasoning behind them shortening that is for that reason. But I think for the major awards that they're giving away, like those main 5, like best RPG, best action adventure, I think those guys, and especially Game of the Year, I think Game of the Year deserves a little bit more time. But I think last year when Neil won it for Last of Us Part 2, they did spend a little bit more time. So I think Joseph decided to just be short with it, and that's probably what came out of that.
Yeah. That could be. It could be. It could just be like Joseph deciding to be short, or short with this speech. But I don't know. I wish that he would have said more because he was clearly excited. Maybe he just like clammed up and didn't know what to say.
Maybe, but he went up there. He was like, "Yo, I remember I was up there on that specific balcony. I said, fuck the Oscars and look at me." Like, but I'm glad I said it because the Game Awards is getting a lot better, and I would agree with that. Like, I think that the organization of the show is getting a lot better. I remember when it first started, it was Dorito commercials every other moment in time.
I remember.
Like, it was just ridiculous.
Yeah, I definitely remember it had like a little bit of a rough start and stuff, but that was because like they hadn't been seen as like legitimate yet. Like Jeff Keighley was trying to get like everything to like be taken seriously by all the like game industry and stuff, so that way like his show could be like the award show. Like obviously there's like the golden joysticks, but who really pays attention to that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I guess any upsets for you during so we were talking about Activision, by the way, and
Yeah.
Jeff did kind of like give a little bit of an intro regarding that.
Yeah,
but he did not name anybody. He didn't say names.
Yeah, he didn't say names, which really disappointed me, but I'm glad that he at least said something.
There was a lot of outrage, well, on social media, of course, but I think people just like to kind of pile on. I think that he did not state the company because there are a couple of Activision people on the board of the Game Awards. And I don't know what kind of situation they have going on there. So I'm not going to sit here and criticize Jeff, but like at the same time, it would have been great if he was just like, all that stuff going on at Activision. If you're being harassed, call this number, just say their names, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
Funny.
I don't know what the situation is like with that, but I know that he said that he's going to be like reevaluating how they have people on, because like the way they have it now is I think they have like a bunch of people from like gaming news outlets and then also gaming companies on like a board to like pick the games and whatever.
Yeah.
But like I think that he said that going forward they might not really need to do that.
Okay.
So, yeah, like maybe next year, if we're still getting Activision Blizzard news, he'll actually name them.
So I think there's a difference too between the board and the jury. So there's a jury that he brings in that will nominate the games.
Yeah.
And I think the board is just in charge of organizational, big time decisions for the Game Awards, etc. I guess funding and all that, maybe something like that. I don't know too much about it because I haven't looked into it, but last episode I know I didn't differentiate the two, so I want to just make sure that or is it 2 episodes ago? I'm losing count.
I think it was 2 episodes ago.
Yeah. I didn't differentiate the board and the jury. The jury is those game journalists and all that have played a lot of those games, and they have input in nominating them. And then the board, I think, is just an organizational thing.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
And that's the part that Activision is involved in.
All right. Yeah, that makes more sense then, for sure.
But overall, I don't think there was anything that I was upset about. I think like after a while, like the awards part goes so fast that after taking how many shots on stream, I was barely paying attention to that. Like I was looking at some of the reveals too, and you can tell like I was just not caring about most of them.
Oh yeah, no, you seemed very out of it when I was watching the stream.
Like there's always a part of the Game Awards where I just unplug.
Yeah, I think it's like that for like everyone. Everyone has like that one part of the show where they're just like, okay, I don't fucking care, just move on, talk about something that I care about.
Right, and all the Amazon commercials, I start turning them down after a while. I guess like we'll talk about what I tuned in for the Game Awards for, unless there's anything else that you want to talk about. But we have to talk about the Sonic reveals.
Yeah, I think we'll talk about like just like a little bit of the awards real quick, and then we'll get to that, because there's like I'm surprised that Psychonauts 2 didn't win like as much as I think it should have, honestly.
So that is a game I can't speak too much on because I did play the first one. I
Yeah.
I got the second one on Game Pass and I didn't get too far in it.
Ah.
I was doing that obsessive thing where I was like destroying every painting in that first level to see if there was a reward for it. There wasn't, and then I kind of quit. So I need to get back to that. But a lot of people said great things about Psychonauts, especially like
Yeah.
on the stream. People in chat were repping Psychonauts too. So
Yeah.
I just can't speak on it too much. Anything you want to say about it?
I mean, I haven't really had too much experience with the game myself, but I know like I was in a call with my buddy Matt while I was watching your stream, and he definitely was like there was like some awards that like I don't remember too much because it was late for me and it was even later for him because he's lives in like Austria, I think.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so
Definitely
it was
late
like
then.
yeah,
It's like
it was
3
like
in the
four-
morning or something.
It
Right?
it was like 3 or 4, 5 by the time we finally hung up.
Shout out to Max.
Yeah. Shoutouts to Matt's for sure.
He came through the stream too, and he was there at like what 4 in the morning. That's dedication, man.
Yeah. And like but yeah, I think it was like I don't remember what award it was. It might have been best narrative, but like he was surprised that Psychonauts 2 didn't win.
Yeah, so Guardians of the Galaxy actually won that one.
Yeah.
Which I wasn't too upset at, but I haven't played Psychonauts 2, right? But I played Guardians of the Galaxy in a pretty short span of time. So I took in like almost everything all at once. And I thought it was a good narrative overall. Like I didn't think it should have won best soundtrack, and I think that the voice actors were a little off at times, but you know, whoever performed Drax and Rocket, shout out to those people because they did a great job. But the narrative overall, I think, was pretty gripping, and definitely good form over, you know, the Avengers game that came out a couple years ago.
Yeah. I haven't played that one either, but I do know that it has some like obscure Marvel characters like Fing Fang Foom in it and stuff.
Yes, Fing Fang Foom. That's a whole ass boss in that game.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Nice.
I thought it was a reference at first, but you eventually, well, you know, I don't want to spoil all of that. I already did. Guardians of the Galaxy spoilers. But I think it was deserved. I don't know. So you think Psychonauts should have taken that one?
I don't know for sure, but I know that like some people I know would say that Psychonauts 2 should have won that, honestly.
Let me see. Who else were they up against? Life is Strange, True Colors. I also played that, which I thought was okay.
I haven't
a little
played
bit short.
I haven't played a Life is Strange game, but I kind of want to because everything I hear about Life is Strange is like it's either this game sucks, the story is cringe, it's so bad, why would anyone write this? Or this is one of the most heartfelt, touching stories I've ever seen in a video game. And it's like I don't know what to think of it.
I'm trying to figure which one I liked better. I've only played 1 and True Colors, so technically 1 and 3. I think the first one as a whole package, I think you would like, and I would suggest just starting there.
Okay.
I know there's like a bunch of them now, like Before the Storm and Life is Strange 2, and there's like a prequel to Life is Strange 2. Just go for the first one. I think that they just released a collection of that, so go ahead and try that out. I think you know you'd knock it out in a weekend if you're really dedicated.
All right. I'll give it a shot sometime.
Let's. I mean, are we done with best narrative? Because I want to talk about best RPG as well before we get into anything else. So
Yeah.
I don't know how deep I went into this last time, but the best RPG. A lot of these games are not RPGs. Well, hold on. Let me see what the listings were. Okay, so you had Cyberpunk 2077. I disagree that that's an RPG. I think that's an action adventure game. It was advertised as an RPG, but there's no real RPG elements in that game. Um, so it's like calling GTA an RPG, in my opinion. Anyone can disagree with me, but I don't know if Cyberpunk really. I still need to actually play that game too.
Yeah.
But I've played like an hour of it. All the shit show happened with it, and I put it down until they finish patching it. I'm not in a rush to play it, but I will play it at some point.
Well,
Go ahead.
yeah. Well, I mean, I would call it an RPG because at its core, an RPG is a role-playing game. So, like a game like Cyberpunk that has those multiple choice and stuff, that is a role-playing game, and I would think that The Witcher also follows that as well. Because
So I would agree.
take on a role.
I would
Take
agree.
on a role and you play it.
Right. I mean, I would agree with Witcher having more of those elements. Like I guess it comes down to the idea of like what is a role playing game these days. And honestly, I'm stuck on this idea that it has to be like a derivative of some form of the old tabletop type of games, like Dungeons and Dragons, um, things like that that pretty much pioneered role playing games.
Yeah.
If those elements still exist, like customizing stats and making choices, like you said, and
Yeah.
um,
I think you can do both of those in Cyberpunk.
okay, I've totally forgotten. It's been like almost a year now, right?
Yeah. I think you can. I think you can like allocate stats and like choose like they're not. I don't know if they're called perks, but I think there's definitely like something like that. And
Oh yeah,
there
they have the
is-
skill trees and all that.
Yeah, they have the skill trees, which is kind of an RPG thing. So, and like there is multiple endings. There is like story paths, and like you can finish side quests different ways. So yeah, I would say that Cyberpunk is an RPG.
Okay, I'm indifferent on the decision to bring it in, but I don't know where else it would have really fit. So
Yeah.
that it makes sense to me. But
Yeah.
Monster Hunter Rise is another one, which I think is action adventure. I mean,
I don't know a lot. I don't know a lot about the Monster Hunter series, so I don't think I can really comment on that one.
okay,
honestly.
so Monster Hunter is pretty much boss the game. Like
Yeah.
there's no leveling up. You're just basically going out, you're hunting monsters, bringing parts back. You make better equipment out of those parts. You have different hunter styles or classes that are, well, it depends on your weapon, right? So your weapon is that class. So you can have a great sword or a crossbow, things like that. And then you go in and you basically take down this monster, and you can have up to a team of 4 people taking down a monster, and you have to learn like its movements and the mechanics, and so it's basically boss the game, but it's like a
Yeah.
real-time action type of thing. So you're like doing these things, and you have to be quick with movements and stuff like that. So but there's no stats, there's no character customizations, things like that. So that's, well, okay, there is character customization. That's a lie. But like the stats, I mean, and perks and stuff like that, that's pretty much all in the gear that you get back from these things that you're killing. So I'm not sure if I need to just brush up on my what is an RPG, but I would never classify Monster Hunter as one. I don't know. That's just another part.
That should be a video that we should collaborate on. What is an RPG?
Yeah, what is an RPG? I feel like, it's kind of lost its meaning, but that's not a bad thing in a
Yeah.
sense. Like, sometimes things change after a while. Like that really deep definition of RPG came from the inspiration of tabletop games and Dungeons and Dragons and things like that. But it's kind of become more of something else now.
Yeah.
And what is it? Is it the narrative? Is it the character creation? Is it, like it's definitely something interesting to think about.
Yeah.
I'd love to make a video like that.
I think that I think that what you're thinking is you're thinking of like Monster Hunter as an action adventure game, but it has RPG elements to it, and those RPG elements are what make them classify it in the RPG category. that might be what you're thinking
Right.
of. Yeah. So it's like we could argue for like days and days about like how many elements of an RPG does a game need to where it's an actual RPG, and whether or not it's like a game with RPG elements to it.
Right, because if I take a game like Sonic and give him skill perks and like speed stats or something, I don't know.
Yeah.
Does it make it a Sonic RPG game? Like, so I guess I've heard this discussion in the past before, and I never really cared too much then. But now that we're talking about it on the podcast, I want to dive into this a little bit more, like in some other form of media.
Yeah. So I don't know. Maybe we could work together on a video like that in the future. And while we're at it, maybe you can finally make your fucking gold and silver video that you said you would make 2 years ago.
So moving on. That's like one of my favorite games in the series, and I told Robin like years ago that I wanted to do a deep dive on that. And my priorities for other videos just overtook that, and then I just tabled it for a long ass time. And I still promise it's not a mythical video that will never come out. Like one day I will talk about gold and silver. Even in my own Discord, somebody recently played Crystal and put in the video game chat like a nice little review of it. And I was like, remind me to get back to this. And I still haven't gotten back to it. So
yeah. At this point, it's just become a running joke.
I just refuse to talk about Gen 2 at this point. But anyway.
You're like...
Sorry, go ahead.
The Gen 2 video is like is to you what Mother 3 is to Reggie Fils-Aimé, where like every time someone talks about it, they refuse to interact with it.
I love that he left Nintendo and he's like, the greatest thing about retiring is that I don't have to talk about goddamn Mother 3 anymore. I don't have to answer that question.
Yeah, that's the best part about like him leaving.
But yeah, by the way, just to put a cap on the best role playing, the other nominees were Scarlet Nexus, which I thought was kind of a surprise in the
I haven't
quality.
heard of that one.
Yeah, it's a Namco game. Bandai Namco. It has that Namco look, but I actually thought that it looked pretty nice. I got to play a little bit on PC. I love the aesthetic. The story was just kind of all over the place after a while, but if you guys like action adventure RPGs, I think that's definitely something to take a look at when it's on sale, of course. Shin Megami Tensei 5 I think is the most like fully RPG out of all of them. I think it kind of deserved it. Yeah, I think it kind of deserved it because I'm really enjoying that game right now. We did talk about it a little bit last episode. I thought it was going to take it, but it actually went to the last nominee, which is Tales of Arise, which I do think was a great looking Tales game. But I honestly think that the Tales series is somewhat lifeless these days. Even though I enjoy a lot of the mechanics going on and their battle system is getting a lot better with each, and the look of the game looks really nice, there's a lot of emptiness. Like, you'll go to a town and everybody just kind of seems dead. The roads are just empty. Nobody's really... Like, there's people traveling sometimes, but, like, all the environments are just pretty much empty and lifeless. And that's the one problem I had with it. But I guess we can talk about Tales of some other time, too.
What's weird is that's actually the second time I've heard that take this month.
Yeah.
Because I think Andrew said that, like, the newer Tales games didn't have the same feeling as the older ones. And I wouldn't know because my only interaction with the Tales series is playing Project Cross Zone.
I haven't heard that game in a long time. That was like a low-key bop. I love Project Cross Zone.
Yeah, that game was awesome.
So with the Tales, and I agree with that. I think I like the older Tales games a lot better, and I don't want to be that rose-tinted glasses type guy, because now they're very formulaic. Like, they have like this, you have a town, there's people standing around, and then you go into the pathway and nobody's there. You just fight monsters, you get to the next spot, and it's just like, one plot to the next. the older Tales games, they had a lot of like really deep side quests going on. And not to say that now there aren't side quests, but back in the day, like you would talk to a random NPC and something super interesting would happen. They'd be like, let's play a little mini game, or like there was just a lot. Like the towns felt more alive. Even though like the world map was like, the old type of overworld type of map. So of course there was nobody really walking around in those segments, but the environments felt lived in. And I think that has kind of lost that charm recently.
Yeah. Speaking of Tales,
Sonic 2 movie?
Yep.
I know, like, I triggered myself earlier when I said Tales. Like, I said it in a way like, man, we need to get to this discussion. Okay.
Yeah.
You start.
Okay. So, at the Game Awards, they announced the two Sonic things. One was the trailer for the new game. But on top of that, they also showed a trailer for the new Sonic movie, the sequel to the one that came out earlier. And Mentok, you actually have a lot of history with the Sonic movie series, don't you?
Yeah, so that's the whole reason I have. Well, I wouldn't say that's the whole reason. I think that's responsible for maybe about 5,000, 6,000 of my subscribers. But the whole reason that I started YouTube up again is in high school. I made an old AMV with the Gangster's Paradise song with a bunch of Sonic clips. And that video is like 15 years old now. But, whatever. I decided to predict the Sonic movie. I felt like that would be in my best interest back in the day. And I posted the video, and then it came to fruition maybe about 12 years later. And and so, yeah, everybody found out that I was actually from the future, and I'm a total prophet. And that's why everyone flocked to my channel and started subscribing. So I was very invested in the Sonic movie and, the original abomination that was the the Sonic design. I love that Ben Schwartz actually said something about that at the Game Awards. He was like, you guys were really invested in, Sonic's hideous face and teeth. Thanks. We needed that. For real. Like, we really needed that. I thought that was great. Like, I love when people address the elephant in the room.
Yeah, I think he said thanks for all the feedback on Sonic's face and arms. We really appreciate that.
Yeah. So, the first movie came out and it was a hit, which is great. It was like a lot of people's last movie that they saw at the movie theater before COVID-19 got into full swing. Same for me. I have not been to the movie theater since Sonic the Hedgehog. So it's good to see that it left an impression on a lot of people, and especially for that reason. And then it's considered one of the best video games movies of all time, or one of the best video game adaptation for a movie of all time. So now that we have the sequel, we see a few things, right? So Tails was introduced at the end of the first movie, but now we have Colleen O'Shaughnessy, who is the actual voice of Tails in the game. She stepped forward and said that she will be reprising her role as Tails for the movie, which I think is a big step. Yeah,
I was genuinely surprised to hear that. I was like, oh, they're not getting like Taylor Swift or something,
right? Or Tom Holland, which was going around Twitter for a while. I don't know if people were saying that as a joke. I think a lot of people were taking it seriously, but they got Tom Holland to play Nathan Drake. So I thought that was coming. Like, I thought they would recast her for sure, which, would have been fucked up in a sense because she voiced him at the end, right? It's like, hey, we need somebody to voice Tails quickly. Like, I think it was a last minute decision to put him at the end, but that was a big reveal for a lot of people. And I'm glad that they kept her because she does a very good job with his voice. It has like just the amount of like kind of cuteness, but very intellectual. It fits him very well, and I'm glad that they brought like just a voice actor in a blockbuster movie. That's a big deal.
Yeah, that is.
And I think that a lot of other animation studios can learn from that because we see all these celebrities who are great actors, but they suck at voice acting. Like, they're garbage. They just sit there and they phone it in. You can tell, like, so
Chris Pratt should not be the voice of Mario or Garfield or anyone. Just full shade being thrown. No.
I think that he's one of those actors that I think Hollywood feels safe with, and I don't know what he's gonna do with Mario, bro.
Look, dude, I'm gonna tell you this right now. I guarantee that when I first read someone say this, I was like, no, they're gonna do this exactly. What they're gonna do is they're gonna have like Chris Pratt speaking like Mario with his accent and everything, like, and then they're gonna have a scene where he coughs and like hats and stuff, and he's like, oh, I'm sorry guys, well, I don't know what that was about, and he's just gonna talk like normal Chris Pratt for the rest of the movie. That's exactly what they're gonna do.
I can see that joke happening.
Yeah, they're gonna do it. It's gonna be the first joke in like the first 5 minutes of the movie.
Oh God, please don't be right. Please don't be right.
I'm willing to. I'll bet you right now, $20.
So, please don't be right. All right, back to Sonic, because
yeah.
I think Jim Carrey is doing a great job as Robotnik/Eggman so far.
Yeah.
I was actually, with the first movie, I was actually surprised how serious he was taking the role. He did an interview, and you guys should check it out. I think if you just type in Jim Carrey interview about Eggman or Robotnik, he actually tries to like diagnose why Eggman is the way that he is. And, you know, they kind of write him a little bit differently, where he was orphaned as a child and he was bullied at school and things like that, to give him a little bit more, motivation as to why he is the way he is.
Yeah.
And you see Jim really tap into that, which is great. And as he's describing the character, you can tell that he actually likes who he's playing. You see a lot of interviews where people bullshit, like celebrities will bullshit, like, well, I think that the character is XYZ, and they just totally missed the mark with the character. Like, why would you say that? That's not what that's not what the character is about. Yeah. But Jim really like hit the nail on the head with out a lot of backstory to work with, and the fact that he's giving this character these motivations. I was very proud of that, and I'm glad that he enjoys the role.
Which is honestly surprising, because for me, like, I really don't like Jim Carrey and like a lot of things. I'm gonna get crucified in the comments section for that, but like I really don't like him in a lot of things. I think he's more annoying than he is funny. The Ace Ventura films, I just don't like. There's like one joke I laughed at in them, and that was in the sequel where like he has like the stake in his legs and he's just screaming and like moving his hands between the two stakes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that was kind of like his quirk at the time, and it was just very popular in the 90s. So
yeah.
Just people like that randomness. I think that's kind of died out a little bit. Like the whole like Office type of humor has taken hold. Like awkward humor we like a little bit more in the States now, but back in the day, just totally random humor was very popular. And he was the king of that.
Yeah, that's fair. I don't know. I didn't mind him in like the first movie. I thought he was actually kind of good.
Yeah, I think especially at the end where like you see him really losing it.
Yeah, and he even starts to sound like Mike Pollock a little bit, like that voice actor from the games.
Yeah,
yeah.
So I am excited to see what he does with the character this time around. That he's like fully Robotnik, and he's just like they don't. And you know what? They didn't even put him in a fat suit, which I'm okay with. Like you can tell, like he has gained a little bit of weight. They probably added a little more fluff to the costume.
Yeah, I think what they're gonna do is they're gonna have him gain more weight as the movies go on to show that he's like letting himself go and focusing more on like inventions and stuff than like his personal health.
I would love for him to look more and more ridiculous after each failure.
Yeah,
it's like the stash gets more ridiculous. Like his weight starts going crazy.
His goggles get more steampunky and weird.
Right. But the reason I brought him up is because when they announced Idris Elba as the voice of Knuckles, I think that he has a great voice. I just haven't seen him.
everyone is thirsting over Knuckles, dude.
Yeah. So that's like it's super popular on Twitter and stuff right now.
Yeah.
But when they announced it, I'm like, oh, okay, well, I don't know how serious Idris is going to take this. Not to say that he doesn't take his role in acting seriously. I just felt that they went for the star power.
Yeah.
But after the trailer, there was a lot of news that came out. Jeff Fowler actually put out in an interview that, Idris was asking him a ton of questions about the motivation that Knuckles has and like about his backstory and things like that. Like, he said he was asking him a ton of questions and he was really interested in the character. And just to see the trailer where they play it straight, he's not a joke. It's not like, oh, I'm dumb. They may do like a couple of jokes making fun of his him being gullible. But I mean, like they played it straight in the trailer and it was like he was a force to be reckoned with. Like Sonic was actually like, man, like somebody's holding me off right now. So like I really enjoyed that reveal and the voice that he's attempting is just it fits. I think it's gonna be a different take, but I think it fits.
Yeah, and I think like they're really doing a good job with Knuckles. I think they're gonna try and do like Sonic 2 and 3 in this, like elements from those stories at least.
Yeah, they're definitely taken from both. So, of course, there's going to be a lot of differences. And for anyone who's interested in a lot of this lore, like I cover a lot of this on the channel, the origin stories of a lot of these characters. I do have a Knuckles episode pending, which I think will do pretty well at this point because he's like back in like the mainstream now. But I do cover Sonic and Tails. And the thing is, like, those games, there's like minimal lore, right? Sonic is just somebody who has these like, he just has super speed out the gate. Like there is like some backstory with him that they tried to get going where, he was doing a bunch of errands for this nice doctor that eventually becomes Robotnik.
Yeah, that's what it was.
Accident.
Yeah, that's what it was in the Fleetway comics, and then the Archie comics later kind of adapted that.
Yeah, that was like the Western version, but it didn't really stick. But in Japan, it's basically like, this is a hedgehog that runs fast, and this is a doctor that wants to capture animals and make robots. But when it got to like Tails, Tails was just somebody who was following in Sonic's footsteps because he admired him. He liked that he can run super fast, and Tails was bullied all the time. But this guy was nice to him, and eventually he was like impressed by his speed and said, "Okay, let's go." And then Robotnik strikes again, and they take him down together, and that was kind of what solidified that friendship. That was the plot for Sonic 2 in a nutshell. Like I basically just gave you the whole plot. And then with Sonic 3, it's a little bit more of a narrative there, but Eggman tricks this echidna that's protecting this Master Emerald, and says that Sonic and Tails are after it, and that causes Knuckles to be on his side for a while until he realizes his mistake, and then they all work together to thwart Eggman. So both of those elements I think are going to be included in there, but it's going to have that little bit of a twist, to fit.
Yeah, and I hope that the movie, like, I think the second one's going to do really well, and they're going to make a third one. I hope the movies don't, like, play up how gullible Knuckles is, because I know that, like, they've done that before in, like, games and, like, shows and stuff. Like, I know Sonic S, like, I think there was, like, at least twice Knuckles got churned to work for Eggman because he was tricked into thinking that Sonic was doing bad.
Yeah, so they kind of made a joke about it in Sonic Adventure as well, which is... but I think it was pretty harmless in that scenario because I think it's the second time. And it was very, like... It was just a very short boss battle, but they lose a couple of Chaos Emeralds in the process. But I think that, if they play this straight, we could get a great version of Knuckles in this movie. And I'm excited to see what they do with it. I'm excited to hear Idris's gruff added to the voice. I think it's going to be good.
Yeah, for sure.
Then there was the other Sonic announcement, Sonic Frontiers, which, I talked a little bit about a couple episodes ago, maybe? Or maybe I didn't talk about it.
Breath of the Sonic of the Wild.
Right. Sonic of the Wild. The environments look very nice, but I'm waiting to see some gameplay. I mean, we have an open world Sonic game now, though. I think that's the
Yeah,
perfect character for it. Like, just the
honestly,
immense
yeah.
speed. I would just love to just sandbox it and just go anywhere.
I want it to have kind of like the physics you get for like driving in GTF. Not like, okay, maybe let me rephrase it. I want it to have the same feeling almost, where like you can pick up a lot of speed, and when you go through a jump, you kind of have to like guide your car. You know,
Right.
I want it to be kind of like that with Sonic.
So the thing is, like, I would love like similar speeds and things like that. It's just I think Sonic requires more control because he's a living thing rather than like a
Yeah,
vehicle or something. So you can't like put car physics 1-to-1 on Sonic because I think like he would
yeah,
have more control over his body and stuff. So
yeah,
I think that is very tricky for Sonic Team to implement proper
yeah,
mechanics because this guy is supposed to be the fastest thing alive. But how do you implement that properly without getting messy controls and stuff like that? So now that we have open world and like there's just all of these, lands to traverse, how do we get through that super fast? And will will we be able to run super fast, or is it going to be like a slowed down version similar to Adventure, where we run around like that? Um, Either way, I'm excited to see what they're planning with this.
yeah. I'm excited to see like what they do with the game. I wonder if that Ghost Girl rumor is true or not.
If it's not true, then that means a lot of these leaks we can't trust.
Yeah,
Um, if it is true, then it's worth taking a look at those leaks again and seeing what those guys were saying. A lot
yeah,
of them were saying that it feels very great to play. Sonic
that's
feels
good.
great. They definitely didn't lift his movements or mechanics from Sonic Forces, um, which is great. I think they needed to rework the boost formula, and I'm glad
Yeah,
that they're trying something different that works. But if those leaks are wrong, then it's back to the drawing board. It's anybody's guess what we're getting.
yeah.
But one thing that excited me is that Ian Flynn confirmed that he is writing the story for this game.
Oh
And
yeah, he's the guy who's doing the IDW comics, right?
correct. And
Yeah,
I talk about this all the time. Like I think the IDW comics has like the best characterization of all the Sonic characters. Like he truly understands their personalities and nails them.
I
Um,
need to I need to just read that already. Max has been telling me to read the IDW comics forever, and now Andrew has started reading it. And you're telling me that it's good, and I'm like, oh, God, I just have to go buy the first volume or something.
yeah, like I would read the first couple of arcs because they're very good, and like
Yeah,
the characters. This takes place like in a separate universe after Sonic Forces, so
yeah,
like it picks up where that game left off, and then it kind of does its own thing. But like they feel like grown, mature characters now. It's not like they're starting this over again. It's just the characters that we love, but just like nailed down into this sense where they are who they are. Um, and it makes some very interesting character interactions amongst people. And I think, like, especially Sonic, for some reason, like, he has this very magnetic personality in those comics. And the fact that Ian is writing for this new game, I think that the stakes are going to be raised a little bit, and the plot line is going to be very interesting because he's very good at crafting those. And I'm surprised that it took Sega this long to bring him in.
yeah. Assuming they give him like complete creative freedom with the script, and they don't constantly go back and edit it. But I don't think they will.
So here's the thing, too. We have those mandates that Sega put out, like Sonic can't do this and Sonic can't do that, and you can't do this. I think
Yeah,
that they put those in place for other Sonic media. So like you
but not
can't
the
do it in the Sonic
games.
comics and stuff like that. But now in the games, I think that whatever they approve, Ian can put through. So I
Yeah,
think that he'll have a little bit more leeway, and they'll just have to say, yeah, yeah, that's okay. I don't think those mandates are on the games themselves. I think they just don't want any other form of media overstepping the canon that's in the games, and I think that's why those mandates are there. And Ken
okay.
Penders. So
Yeah, well, yeah. Ken Penders is a
right.
whole thing in its own. Yeah,
But it looks exciting. I don't know. I would love to see good writing in a Sonic game. I mean, I think that the characters all have these great personalities that haven't been fully utilized in a very long time. So I'm interested to see where that goes.
Yeah. One day we gotta sit down and just talk about all the Archie comic bullshit, because I love the Archie comics for how stupid they are, and because that's what I grew up with, and I know you don't know a whole lot about them.
Yeah.
So it'll be fun to like explain some story arcs and stuff to you one day.
Yeah, I would love that because I've done it as I said, a few origin videos, and diving into the Archie lore is part of that.
Yeah.
So while I haven't like fully read like everything from top to bottom, I'm starting to slowly get what the heck's going on in that comic.
Yeah.
So like somebody called me out and said, "Hey man, like why do you always shit talk about Archie comics?" I'm like, "Well, I'm not shit talking them. It's just there's just so much. Like that's years and years of publication. So it's like it's a daunting task."
Yeah, there's so much of it, and it like gets really off the rails at some parts. Like there's these two human characters named Horizont Al and Verted Cal who become robots.
Oh no.
Yeah, don't worry, you'll get used to it. There's like my favorite thing to come out of the Archie comics is the Zone Cops, which is like this universe that's like on like a horizontal vertical axis, whereas like every other universe is a vertical axis, and because of that, like all the Zone Cops when they go to other universes, they have to walk on walls because gravity works that way for them for some reason.
So they have to walk up and down, like literally.
Yeah, and it's the same when other characters go to their universe too. Like Sonic is walking on Sonic the Zone Cop, wonder who that is. Walking on like his terminals and stuff and his computer screens.
So there's one funny thing that like doing I don't want to go too much over time here, so I'm gonna put it in a nutshell. But there's one story arc that I read about where Tails has a crush on this girl named Fiona. I totally missed adding this reference to my video. But essentially, Fiona is like there, and you find out that she's like a bad guy. And there's something where like Sonic dates her like briefly to take his mind off of it or something like that, just to like save his friend or something. And you find out that she's bad or she's a robot that belongs. It's bonkers, right?
Yeah, Fiona Fox is one of like the most like just evil characters I think Ken Pender's made.
But have you seen that movie Eurotrip? It's a very old like 2000s movie, but like
I haven't seen it. I think that's the first time I'm hearing of it.
Okay, so there's it kicks off with like this guy who has a pen pal in Europe, right? And he's feeling this, but he has a girlfriend at home. And like they have this graduation, and he goes to this graduation party, and like basically Matt Damon comes out and starts singing this whole rock song called Scotty Doesn't Know. The main character is named Scotty, and his girlfriend Fiona comes out on stage, and he like basically says everything that he's done to this girl under the sun, and he's like, Scotty doesn't know. So like I just thought of that because her name's Fiona. That's the name of the girlfriend. So I wanted to put that reference in there, and I just totally forgot. It just feel like a missed opportunity because Sonic steals like Fiona from Tails, and it's like Tails doesn't know.
Oh yeah.
Fiona. So yeah. Anyway, that is we'll get into the Archie comics. I need to learn a little bit more. So seeing you're knowledgeable about them, maybe this is a perfect opportunity.
Yeah. We should definitely do that in a future episode. And speaking of episodes, I think this one's about done.
I think so too. You want to take us home?
For sure. All right, everyone. Thank you for watching today's episode. I am Robin.
And I'm the Mentok. Shout out to our editor as well. Who's editing this, Robin?
Ricky. He's a friend of Zach.
Shout out to Ricky. Thanks for listening to the podcast, and I hope we didn't drag on too long.
Yeah, I hope hope editing goes smoothly and stuff. But yeah, thank you all for listening, and we will see you all later.
All right, peace.